Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King, and today I'm going to be giving you part 6 of What If Naruto Was Neglected with Shibai Otsutsuki Karma Seal. Remember to get this one too 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the brand new episode over on Anime King 2 of What If Naruto Was the Child of Hagoromo and the Tail Beasts, and enjoy that guys. And remember, if you're new, yes I indeed have 4 more channels, so yeah guys, go ahead and check them out. All of the links will be down in description, so without further ado or wasting more time, how about we jump right into this brand new episode. Let us begin now guys. So the last part that we left off, Naruto was face to face with Orochimaru of the Sannin. Naruto did not like the man at all, as he heard things about the man. However, Kabuto was there as well. Kabuto was able to quell the rising temper that was flaring for Naruto, as Naruto was not someone that took lightly to people that he cared about, which was Hikari. If Orochimaru ever turned his sights upon her, Naruto would annihilate him without hesitation, as he made sure the man knew that. Orochimaru decided to flaunt his power though, trying to show Naruto that he was a Sannin and compare between the both of them. Naruto was nothing. However, Naruto refused to back down or bow to anyone's whims as he stood up to the Sannin. Kabuto was able to quell the rising temper between them though, as Naruto left with Hikari. She wanted to leave if Naruto did not trust the Sannin. However, it was her that Naruto was worried about. Not to say that she was incredibly talented, but with a slippery man like that. Naruto also said things that made Hikari feel strange. On the way he said it, he spoke to her like he was in love with her. The way he talked, maybe it was because he never really had anyone before to call a friend, except for Kabuto. And given the fact that she was a different gender, that must be it. As Naruto made it known that the only thing that in this world that he cared about was her. She was rather shocked by those words. Kabuto came to speak to Naruto after that as they spoke. Kabuto had told Naruto a lot about himself. After all, Naruto was his only friend in this world. Kabuto never truly had an identity. He did not see himself as someone who had a own life. He was always used, always seen as someone to work for the main villain. He was never in charge, as Naruto did not like that Orochimaru was in charge. Naruto already had something plotting for that, but he did not tell Kabuto about it, as he agreed that he would dazzle himself. We then skip towards Naruto speaking to the Sannin on regarding of his plan. Orochimaru wanted Naruto to prove himself that he was even good enough to be let in on the plan. So with that, he brought him with him. Rasa wanted to step out of the whole thing that was going to happen. He didn't want to partake anymore, believing that what they were doing was going to be a suicide move. However, Orochimaru was not going to let that happen, so as he called Naruto down, both Naruto and Hikari took out the guards as Naruto faced off against Rasa. The power that Naruto had at his disposal was great and vast. Rasa was still a Kage though. Might not be the strongest, but he was still a Kage, and he showed that. However, Naruto's power seemed to be beyond him. Naruto's raw, explosive power forced Rasa to use something that he never thought he would use. He pulled the sand together and created a humanoid monstrosity that rained down attacks after attacks on Naruto. Naruto was being mashed down by the attacks until he started to focus more and push deep within the power. That is when Naruto changed the atmosphere. He called the lightning from the heavens. The lightning coursed through him as he became a rod of lightning. He decimated Rasa with one single blow. The attack, crystallizing his sand and ending Rasa's life. Naruto collapsed down as he coughed up blood, as he didn't do it perfectly as he was coughing up blood. But at least, he won. Orochimaru believed that he was worthy now. The Sannin seemed to have his own plan on his mind, but that was not important for now. So he informed Naruto about the upcoming exams. Some time passed after that as we find Naruto on top of a hill. The thunder, the lightning, the atmosphere coursing all around. Naruto seemed to be in a state of relaxation as he prepared himself. But not only him, Menma was training hard, so hard that his parents and friends started to worry. Yes, they started to worry about him. He was going a bit too hard. Menma refused to even stop and rest, as he wanted to be ready for the next time that he had to face Naruto. With the Chunin exams at Konoha coming to an end for a month, everyone was going to practice and prepared, and be ready for what is to come. When the day finally came, the place was buzzing with activity. Everything was going so well, as everyone was sitting and watching the exam partake. Mito and Menma proving that they were the children of Minato Namikaze. However, when the battle came for Sasuke Uchiha, as he was facing down there against Gaara, things became rather chaotic quickly as feathers started to fall. However, it showed that it was all a ruse. As the plan was finally revealed, Orochimaru announcing himself to Minato. As he trapped Minato inside of the barrier, Orochimaru had released the Edo Tenseis earlier. Knowing of Minato's speed as he summoned the first and the second, the third was unable to come because of the seal. So with that, he summoned both of the Hokages. However, the Sannin simply chuckled as he was looking at Minato like he knew something that Minato did not, and Minato felt a sinking sensation in his chest. Down below as Mito was making her way towards her mom, seeing the chaos taking place, Kushina saw someone behind Mito and her eyes went wide in shock. As she screamed at Mito, Menma from down below glanced up as his eyes went wide. So yeah guys, basically let's left off, you guys can switch across to please check it out for yourself, and also don't forget to go ahead and destroy that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. So without further ado, let's leap right into this brand new episode. Begin now guys. Fukaku Uchiha and several other Uchihas, even his son Itachi Uchiha, was also there as well. They were sitting and waiting for the match down below to take its proceedings when all hell broke loose. Feathers started to fall. It was child's play for them to reverse the effects of the Genjutsu. However, it started from the top, where the other Uchihas lie. Blood-curdling screams start to reverberate through the entire place. Fukaku had to leap away. His wife was sitting with one of her closest friends, which was Kushina Uzumaki, so she wasn't there. Itachi leaped away as well. A few other Uchihas were able to escape, but a couple of them were hit with black flames. Said flames proceeded to swallow and burn them. Itachi's gaze snapped around as he pinpointed the culprit, a girl. As he looked into her eyes from his location, as he was surprised to see Mangekyou Sharingans gazing back towards him. Hikari had not hesitated. She said that she was going to be the last member of the Uchiha clan, the last one to carry that name, because she was going to erase all of them. And in just a few seconds she was able to burn several of them down with black flames. One of the stronger Uchihas had been killed some time ago. His name was Shisui Uchiha. To this day, no one knew the result or what happened. It is said that he committed suicide, but that did not seem to be the case. No one knew who was behind this. This was also a main driving point for the coup that they were plotting. However, Minato had sat down with Fukaku and they had put an end to that. It is one of the resulting things that had stripped Danzo off majority of his power that he once held. While they had no evidence, they knew who was stirring the flames. However, a large handful of Uchihas were just eviscerated in one blow. It was a good thing that not all of them were here. The faster ones were able to get out of the way though. Itachi was one of the few that knew what happened to Shisui, but to prevent further calamities and to save his family and the people of Konoha, Itachi swallowed the secret. Most did not know that he possessed these eyes. As his eyes changed, going beyond the Sharingan into the Mangekyo, Itachi flashed forward at blinding speed, clearing the crowd. Kunai clashed against Blade as Hikiri held his strike back. Furious Mangekyo looking into one another, Itachi saw nothing but hate in her eyes. They separated as he looked at his opponent. "Who are you?" he asked, trying to find out who was this unknown Uchiha. "My name is not important. All that is important is the Uchiha clan fall." She flashed forward as they started to clash. All over there was chaos brewing. Konoha was being hit hard. The wall exploded as the Sanjin Jinchuriki was heading towards the forest with his siblings. Sasuke Uchiha ran after him. Menma was unable to go because of what he was currently witnessing. She spat blood out of her mouth. Mito looked down. There was a hand going through her chest. As she gazed up towards the white eyes that gazed back into hers, she spat blood once again. She heard her mom screaming out her name. However, she could barely react. She could barely twitch. Her body leaned forward and collapsed on his. Naruto refused to let what happened with Menma happen again. A violent discharge tore through Mito. The girl's body trembled vigorously until it couldn't anymore. There was no life left in it. Kushina was tearing across the arena, running through even Konoha shinobis, knocking everyone over. The woman rushed forward as she caught her baby girl after Naruto released her, tearing his hand out of her chest. Kushina was frozen as Mito bloody bodylined her hand with a gaping hole in her chest. As Naruto stood there, looking down towards her, red chakra started to swirl on Mito's stomach before it shoot away and slammed into Menma, the chakra finding the nearest and strongest source. While Kushina also had some of the fox chakra, Menma had half. "Would you look at that?" said Naruto as he stooped down. "She's dead." Kushina was lost, her eyes blank. The only thing that she could see was her baby girl, lifeless corpse. A blood-curdling scream tore through Konoha. It was from Menma as he started to lose it. Immediately, his body started to take on attributes of the fox. The cloak surrounded him. Two tails emerged. The two pointed ears. His fangs got sharp. His eyes, there was a black eyeliner around it. His whisker marks got thickened. Menma lost all composure as another tail emerged, making it 3. He threw himself towards Naruto. The last thing on his mind that he wanted to tear apart. Naruto leaped from where he was and ducked under Menma's swipe before he slammed a kick into his guts. Menma was blasted through the ear and crashed into the ground as Naruto landed in the arena. Kushina could not hold the anger that she was feeling. The tail beast chakra that was placed back inside of her to prevent her death started to swirl. It had used her chakra to build itself back up over the years. Granted, it wouldn't have a stable form, and that would make it even worse. Kushina gained whisker marks. Her eyes became red with slits as she lost all composure. All the hate that was focused on Naruto was released. Kushina crashed into the arena, tearing through a sound ninja without even blinking, as Naruto found himself stuck in the center of the both of them. Menma's continuous growth started to increase Kushina's anger as well, and increase the amount of power that she was pushing out. Chains emerged from her back, but these were no normal chains though. They had sharp edges and they had gritted pieces on the side as they slammed down and ripped the earth apart. Everything was being blown away. The force started to affect people. Ino Yamanaka was trembling in absolute fear. As she looked down, she saw the corpse. Ino screamed as she covered her mouth. Kurenai Yui landed beside her when she saw the body of Mito. She knew Mito all too well because of her great friendship with Hinata. She couldn't allow the body just to remain here. Kurenai picked up the corpse as she pushed away her feelings. Now she saw why that was taking place down there. As Kurenai was moving, Kakashi saw her with the corpse. Kakashi was frozen, allowing a sound ninja to sneak up on him. However, Guy slammed the sound ninja through the railing, taking him out. Kakashi, you have to focus, he said, as Kurenai landed in front of them, holding on to the corpse. Guy was shocked when he saw the corpse, as he knew the girl as well. Most of the time he forget people's name, but this girl was a ray of sunshine. That is what Lee said about her. Yes, Lee found her personality warm and caring, and she also had a lot of youth. Her flames of youth were unlimited, Lee said. He seemed to like her as well. So Guy saw her death. Kakashi had a shocked look, which could all be seen from that one eye. Meanwhile, Minato was fighting, clashing against the first and the second. Something was wrong. He could feel it in his heart. Not to mention he could also feel the tail beast chakra. Two of them. Menma, Mito, he thought, believing that they were the two. He had to end this quickly. However, that was easier said than done, as he started to prep a seal in order to stop the Edo Tenseis. However, it wouldn't be that easy. Orochimaru was not making things easy as he was randomly attacking Minato to try and catch him off guard, but Minato's speed was just something entirely different. Orochimaru could feel the tail beasts down there. That would cause more destruction on Konoha, and that brought him glee and happiness. As Naruto stood in the center of the two rampaging individuals, the both of them lashed out towards him. They came at him with a ferocity like none has ever seen before. Naruto twists and duck and dodge. Kushina's chains were not only tearing, they were also shredding, as Naruto could not get his hand in. Kushina was a lot faster than he thought, and a lot more skilled than he thought, even while out of her mind she was still able to move so flexible. Menma, on the other hand, he wasn't getting close. Because the both of them were not in a proper state of mind, Kushina's chain slammed right into Menma. Menma started to lose it even more. Usually, he wouldn't be able to go this far because the seal was tight. However, the chakra from the other tail beast that was residing within Mito, the other half of the fox, returned in so vast and in such a quantity, it loosened the seal greatly. Another tail started to emerge as Menma screamed. His voice sounded hoarse as he screamed out. His skin started to peel off. While that was going on, Naruto was clashing with Kushina. Her chains ripped apart the ground and pulled out a colossal piece of rock, and she tossed it. Naruto broke right through it as he landed. She jumped towards him as he grabbed her wrists. Naruto slammed his knee in her face. He did not stop there though. As she was in mid-air, Naruto slammed his fist in her gut at least 12 times at blinding speed. He wasn't done yet. He grabbed onto the chain despite them tearing into his palm as he yanked her. He grabbed her by the face and lifted her before he dropped her in the arena. The entire place went down a level. Naruto jumped up and twisted as he brought his leg down. Kushina rolled away though as Naruto's leg eviscerated the ground. Naruto brought his hand together before he pushed outwards. A violent wave of electricity slammed into Kushina, throwing her away. She slammed through the wall. However, she tore right through it as she ran and jumped. She spun as her entire body was surrounded by the chains. She slammed into Naruto like a gig, throwing him through the opposite wall. Before a chain wrapped around his leg as she lifted him and drove him in the earth. She lifted him again and sent him through another wall. As she pulled him towards her before, she gutted him, driving her clawed hand right into his gut as she twists, trying to rip him apart. That is when Naruto's eyes snapped into hers. "Hurts, doesn't it?" he said, as he gripped her wrists. "Knowing that I just killed your daughter," Naruto said, not showing a shred of mercy. This woman was the one that killed his mother. Naruto snapped her wrists as he pulled it out of his stomach. She raised her other hand and sent her chains towards his head until Naruto covered his fists with all the elements. Naruto threw his hand forward as her chains made contact. Her chains ceased to exist. As Naruto's fist was not slowing down, she moved as Naruto moved with her. She tried to jump away, but he gripped her hand so tight with so much force. He then hit her. The force sent Kushina sailing. The recently transformed Menma was not able or prepared to dodge. The two tail beasts crashed right into one another, sending each other sailing for miles. They violently crashed into the forest. Naruto ran as he jumped over the wall and teared through the forest, going after them. He was losing control, which wasn't good. Naruto landed. However, upon landing, there was a transformed Gaara there as well. Naruto did not care for any of them. He was gonna wipe all of them off the face of the earth. Naruto brought his hand together as he started to create a ball in the center of his palm, fusing all the elements together and twisting them, turning and bending them to his will. The ball started to crackle as it became black, absorbing all the light around it. This was an unnatural phenomenon that he was creating in his palm, unknowingly, because he was losing control. When Gaara shouted as he was about to kill off Sasuke, who had thought that he could handle Gaara by himself, "Do not interrupt!" He sent his sand towards Naruto. However, Naruto leaped away. But sand came out of the ground when he landed and wrapped around his leg and yanked him. Gaara's clawed hand was about to tear his face clean open, but the ball in Naruto's hand became unstable, as it was not finished. It cracked like a light. Sasuke's eyes widened. He ran. He ran for the hills. An explosion unlike any other rocked Konoha to its very essence. The village trembled. Windows exploded. Buildings were breaking apart in the village as the explosion created a landmark in the forest. There was a canyon that was never there. It was so deep and vast. It was shocking. Sasuke was down there as well, unable to outrun the blast. He was battered and bruised, and bloody as well. Luckily though, alive. When the smoke and dust cleared, as the walls of Konoha that was near the forest had collapsed, Everything within the arena had been destroyed. Anyone that was still in the arena at that point had been killed. Itachi Uchiha was still facing off against his opponent. There had been several distractions. Several others had tried to intervene. Itachi was shocked by her strength. He was shocked by her overall visual prowess. He could not beat her. She canceled out his techniques. He tried to cast a Tsukuyomi, but she broke it instantly. Their flames clashed against each other. And the worst part about it was she had more chakra than him. So if it was longevity in the battle, she would win. However, she was done playing these games. She had killed a dozen Konoha ninjas, excluding the Uchihas that she killed, because they kept on trying to get in her way. A red cloak started to bubble around her as Itachi realized what was going to happen. That was when the explosion went off. She had to move, everyone had to move because they were close to the arena. Countless died in the attack. Minato and Namikaze felt it as the building that they were fighting on was erased, breaking the sound 4 footing. As the barrier dropped, the attack had eviscerated everything in sight. Minato teleported away, Orochimaru pushing off with great speed. Every known building near the location had been wiped away. A quarter of Konoha was wiped away. It was a good thing that majority of the people had been evacuated towards the shelters the moment this began. The blessed thing for them was that Naruto did not set off that attack in the center of the arena, because if he did, everyone would have died. Naruto was clearly not in his right mind because he wasn't even thinking. However, the explosion cleared that up. Minato saw the opportunity that he has been waiting for, as the first and second were trying to put themselves back together. Minato blazed through at least 20 hand signs in seconds as he performed the counter seal and slammed it in their chests. The spiral gripped onto both of the Edo Tenseis. This formula was weak and imperfect, so it was much easier for Minato's seal to destroy the links that bound them to this reality and start to break apart the body. Seeing his opportunity, Minato destroyed the 2 kunais that was in the back of their heads with a special sealing formula, revealing 2 dead sound shinobis. Hundreds of snakes tried to surround Minato, but he teleported away. When he saw Orochimaru down below, Minato appeared with a Rasengan in hand. The Sannin twist, but Minato vanished and appeared above him and sunk it into him. The whole ground was eviscerated. Minato was not playing around. He had to do this fast. Throwing around at least 10 kunais, he started to move like he was light itself, because that is all that the Sannin could see. He knew that a match between him and Minato would end in Minato's favor, but Minato has been training and preparing all these years. He's not been lacking, not in the slightest. His speed was twice as fast as he once was. Orochimaru was fighting for his life. While that was going on, Naruto had depleted a large portion of his chakra on that attack. It was the first time in a long while that he's felt this exhausted. However, his chakra replenished itself at least 10 times faster than your average shinobi, and his body was still not anywhere close to reaching the power that Shibai once had. Nowhere close. However, Naruto's eyes were closed as he was trying to find her. A sigh of release escaped his lips as he felt Hikiri's chakra. That is when he felt several others. As he came across Gaara on the ground, Gaara's right arm was missing and he was unconscious. As Naruto slammed his hand into his stomach, Naruto's hand started to turn blue and transparent as it went through Gaara's stomach. Gaara's seal was always unstable, so the influx of chakra that Naruto had around his hand was enough to bypass the mechanism of this weak seal. As Naruto started to reach until he found what he was looking for, Gaara opened his eyes as he started to scream as Naruto slammed his head right into the ground and held him there until Naruto pulled his hand back out. In his hand was a strange orb, a strange brown color orb that was glowing. Naruto bit into it and tore it apart as he devoured it. The markings over his body started to glow. A violent shockwave exploded out of him. As Naruto got back to his feet, he started to walk as he then saw them. Minma was unconscious, so was Kushina as well. They were a few feet ahead of him. A smile came on Naruto's face. He's been waiting for this for so long. A wonderful, blessed smile. Naruto started to approach. He was about to rip them apart. However, he felt Hikari's chakra. It started to increase drastically. Something was wrong, Naruto thought, as he looked back down at the two. He had to make a choice. Naruto vanished away, leaving them. He was right to do so. After the explosion, Hikari had been knocked into the wall. She tried to flee, but the force had knocked her away. She crashed into the wall. However, when she pulled herself up, surrounding her was nothing but Konoha ninja. The sound force was weak. The sand force had retreated. So she was surrounded by Kakashi Hatake, Might Guy, Itachi Uchiha, and several others. Their sole intention was to take her down. Kakashi's hand was covered in lightning. Kakashi was not happy in the slightest. Despite not knowing who this woman was, he was angry. Mito was dead. He saw her dead corpse a moment ago. Someone like that, who had recently became a ninja. Her life shouldn't be taken away like that. The man was angry, and his anger was projecting on Hikari. So there she stood surrounded. However, she was not going down without a fight. But something happened. It came in so fast. Kakashi was knocked out of the way by Might Guy, who spun. Both of their fists collided, creating an immense shockwave. Guy was already surrounded by the gates, knowing that he would need them. Guy was dead serious. The last time he almost died, but now. However, Naruto was not here to play any damn games. A red axe materialized out of nowhere as Naruto gripped the handle and swung. Guy was able to duck, however, the force of the axe had sliced through everything behind him, shocking everyone as Naruto turned it and swing it towards them, forcing them to move away. Hikari saw Naruto and she felt relief. He landed by her side. Naruto grabbed her around the waist as he flew into the sky. When he saw Minato, Minato was holding the body of Mito in his arms. The sound forces were fleeing away. Naruto glanced down towards him as Minato glanced into the sky. The both of their eyes met, as Naruto simply looked at him before he took off with Hikari. As they were gone, Orochimaru was able to escape. Minato had killed the man twice, forcing him to shed his skin. However, Orochimaru knew that his time was close, so he pointed out Minato's dead daughter. Kunai had been thrown away when the blast had hit, so Mito had been thrown. Minato saw his daughter's corpse. That was the only reason why Orochimaru was alive. Minato failed to do his Hokage duties and eliminate the threat. Emotions got the better of him. Emotions to see his baby girl on the ground dead, and now seeing Naruto's eyes. Seeing the hole in her chest, he could tell who was behind this. It was the same thing that he tried to do to Menma. Minato was, for once, unable to continue. Usually the man put Konoha before everything, to keep the village safe, to be the Hokage that he can be, but now, seeing his daughter dead on the ground, it stunned him, it shocked him. It stopped him from completing his task. However, the Sannin was not better off. Orochimaru was extremely weak. Minato had almost ended his life, forcing him to shed his skin so much time to prevent death. He was actually at his limits and unable to do it anymore. If Minato had slit his throat or stabbed him that final time, he would have been dead, but that didn't happen. The remaining forces within Konoha were annihilating every threat. The Sound Ninjas were fleeing as Naruto was flying away. Temari and Kankuro were quickly making their way. They had to take the long way around because of the large cannon that Naruto had created in the ground. They could not jump that, not in the slightest. However, when they arrived, they saw Gaara on the ground with a missing arm, and he wasn't breathing. Upon further inspection, he was dead. He was dead. Time skip a distance away. Orochimaru, who was physically and mentally exhausted, was running along with the Sound 4. They needed to get to a safe haven. They couldn't afford to stop just now. Konoha can still catch up with them. The Sannin knew if he were to face off against a stronger opponent now, he will definitely lose. He was not at a level to repel any forces. But that is why they're here. That was their main goal. The Sound 4, that is. Boom! They were all stopped as something crashed into the ground. Amaterasu. Black flames surrounded each and every one of them, trapping them in a box. Hikari was back to full strength as Naruto had pumped his chakra into her. She trapped them in a box. The Sannin snarled. "What is the meaning of this?" he said. He didn't look too happy. There were also Sound Ninjas that were catching up with the group, trying to flee to return back to their secret base. The invasion was a bust. To everyone's shock, Naruto simply walked through the black flames. However, what he really did was simply absorb the chakra and make it seem like he'd walked through it. The flames were so powerful though that they seemed to reattach. Yes, because the closing loop came to a stop as Naruto stood in front of the Sound 4 and Orochimaru. The Sound 4 was not aware of Naruto. The only thing they know was he was an asset that would help them in the upcoming attack. However, the Sannin had told them that he could not be fully trusted, so they had to be on guard. However, there was one problem though. They were exhausted as well. It was their chakra that they were using to maintain the barrier, and they had used the curse mark as well, so they were kind of running low at the moment. As Naruto looked towards Orochimaru, as stated earlier, his chakra replenished a lot faster than most, but he was still nowhere near to recovering 100% of his chakra. However, devouring Shikaku had put quite a hefty toll back in his system, as Naruto's chakra pool was beyond tail beasts right now. Kabuto might see you as a worthy leader for him to follow, but I think you're nothing but a snake who cowards people down to do as he say and make them think that is some sense of loyalty that they have. I don't really care about the others, but Kabuto is my friend. That is why you're not returning back home. You insignificant child. Do you really think now is a time to make your move against someone like me? Do you really think that you can best someone like me, the Sannin said, peering his fangs at Naruto. You can't leave this box, said Naruto. Those black flames will devour you. Your techniques will be devoured by them as well. That means you're stuck inside here with me. And you Sound 4 ninjas. If any single one of you try to intervene, I'll kill you where you stand, said Naruto. Orochimaru snarled. Kill him, he said to the Sound 4. However, Naruto started to release bloodlust that started to shake the surrounding area. One move, and it's death, Naruto said, stepping forward. his eyes seeming to pulsate, shaking the ground. Raw, uncontrollable chakra started to build up inside of him. The furious Sound 4 was shaken. All of them were shaken and rooted in their spot. Orochimaru looked toward their faces as he saw nothing but cowardness. As they were all terrified, the Sannin shot forward trying to end Naruta's life. He brought out the Kusanagi and swung. To his shock, though, Naruto caught it. In Naruta's palm was a strange red material that seemed to protect his hand completely. Snap! Naruto broke the blade in half before slamming the broken part through Orochimaru's hand. He did not stop there though, as he cracked his heel in the Sannin's mouth. Several of Orochimaru's teeth were knocked out. Naruto appeared behind him and grabbed his head before he cracked it into the earth. The Sannin swung his elbow as Naruto grabbed it and pinned it behind him before he stepped in Orochimaru back. The man screamed out for bloody murder. The Sound 4 was too terrified to move. Hikari was also trembling as well. Naruto was affecting everyone because he was rather pissed off. He wanted to kill Menma. Yes, he wanted to kill Menma. And he wanted Kushina to watch, just as how he killed Mito in front of her. But he did not regret his choice though. He would save Hikari 1,000 times before he proceeded to continue his plans. But it doesn't matter. They will watch all of their children die, not just one. He wanted Minato to see Menma fall right in front of his eyes. But yet, he couldn't help but feel angry. Just the thought that Menma survived, it pissed him off, and he took that out on the Sannin. Even Teiwaya, with all of her vile talking and her rather rude attitude, was too terrified to do anything. All of them felt like their souls were being held by some sort of demon, preventing them from even making a move. They were unable to activate the curse mark. They were unable to move to their master aid. Never in their life has they felt such power before. But this was no ordinary power at all. Shibai had told Naruto to not let the power control him. Twice now it was happening. All the flowers started to decay and die. The ground itself started to rot, like it was infested by some sort of virus. Surprisingly, even the black flames started to out. The black flames that were never supposed to be quenched by anything until they complete their tasks. They started to go out. Naruto was causing a natural phenomenon just like what he did to create that cannon within Konoha. While he was doing this, he was beating the living shit out of the Sannin until his knuckles were bloody and drenched in the Sannin's blood. Naruto sat and beat his head into the ground over and over. He didn't stop there though. He covered his fist in lightning. Every punch was a zap. Orochimaru was screaming in agony as Naruto gripped his face and burned him with pure electricity. It tore through the Sannin, burning through his coils, tearing his chakra apart as Naruto was burning him from the inside out. Orochimaru was crawling away in fear as he looked up towards the Sound 4. "Do something," he said, barely able to make words that make sense because of his face rearrangement. His mouth busted open. Everything was a mess. The Sannin could not even leave this form to take on what he truly looked like. Naruto had fried his inner chakra system, something that normal people did not possess the capability of doing. But this child, he had power beyond any ninja that has ever walked the face of this earth. Naruto's gaze swept over the Sound 4, and every single one of them fell to a knee, their bodies going down automatically. It is said that the strong rule and the weak die, and this is exactly what is happening. Naruto gripped Orochimaru by the throat and flew into the sky. The Sannin punched and kicked, but his attacks were weak. There was no chakra behind them. The sky itself was darkened. It seemed like rain was going to fall anytime soon. As Naruto flew Orochimaru straight up until he was at the clouds. Lightning was gathering and shocking all over. As Naruto's eyes snapped open as he pulled every ounce of lightning towards him. They slammed into him. As Naruto used his body as a lightning rod and pushed all of that into the Sannin. Goodbye, he said. Orochimaru's eyes went wide as every electrical discharge slammed into him at the same time. His body exploded, erasing every presence, every stench of the man. He was gone. Hikari looked up as Naruto landed, shaking the ground as he did. His whole body was causing the atmosphere to change. The place became dark like it was night. The wind was howling, the ground was shaking, the sky was crying as tears of rain started to pour down upon them. She rushed up towards him. "It's over," she said. "You have to calm down." As Naruto looked down towards her, her words, her gaze gazing into his, she captivated his gaze with her own. Naruto took a breath as he started to calm himself down. However, for a split second, he could not. The power was trying to get the better of him, but he forced it back down. He wrapped his control over it and bent it to his will. As his body started to release steam out of it, he took several deep breaths. Hikari stopped the black flames as Naruto stepped toward the sound ninjas. "The Sannin is now dead," said Naruto, looking down towards them. "That means I am now in charge. If you have a problem with this, speak up now," said Naruto. His gaze looking towards each of them. They could not meet his eyes. Just because of fear alone, they could not gaze into his eyes. "Well then, now that that is settled, let's go," said Naruto. "I'm talking to you as well," he said, as he gazed towards the other sound ninjas that were cowering in fear. Yes sir," they said, as they all started to run away with him, returning back to the base. Time skip. Kabuto was unaware of any of this, as it took him longer than most to return back to the base. After all, he was a spy within Konoha ranks. So yes, when he finally got there, he could tell that something was wrong. The first sign of that was, he was greeted by a sound ninja. "Lord Naruto wishes to see you immediately." Kabuto was taken aback. "Lord Naruto?" Kabuto walked down the halls. He arrived. However, he saw a room with a lot of bones sticking out of the wall. "Kimimaro?" he thought in confusion. Kabuto made his way down to where Orochimaru used to reside in his throne room. As he arrived to see, sitting on that throne was none other than Naruto. Kabuto was taken aback, surprised, as Naruto was holding a bone in his hand, moving it around. "What did you do?" Kabuto asked. "I told you, he's nothing but a snake who doesn't deserve your loyalty. And now, he's a dead snake," said Naruto. "You killed him?" "Yes, I did," said Naruto as he stepped off the throne and threw the bone as it slammed into the wall. "I had some resistance when I came back with the news, but I took care of that." Kabuto instantly thought, Kimimaro. Yes, he was loyal than most, but he wasn't loyal anymore when I snapped his neck. Kabuto was shocked by all of this. "You're my friend, Kabuto. That is why I want you to stand by my side to show that you have what it takes. That you have beyond what it takes than that bastard snake ever possessed. His obsession with destroying Konoha was the only thing that he ever had. But you, on the other hand, your mind is filled with a lot of ideas. many eventful ways to change society as we see fit. The sound goal is no longer how to destroy Konoha, because the one that will bring in that village to its knees is me, and me alone. Kabuto was taken aback by all of this. He would have never expected that Naruto would have been able to kill Orochimaru. However, given what he's come across so far, he could see that everything that he said was truthful. Time skip. The funeral was a rather sad event. Many lost their loved ones. The casualty was close to what happened with the nine-tail attack. Once again, Konoha was greatly weakened. Granted, it wasn't exactly the same amount. There were fewer people that died in this one. However, there were mostly ninjas that lost their life. The ones that were fighting in the arena. They were all eviscerated, and their bodies could not even be found. And a few within the village perimeters that were crushed by the buildings, or the broken glass that fell on them. Too much to be quite exact. It was a sad and tragic day. The Hokage lost his daughter. Yes, it was a painful day. Kushina and Minato were not on good terms at the moment. They haven't spoken since the funeral. Kushina was angry at him. They also fought at the funeral. At the end of it, Kushina had tried to get Minato to execute Naruto for going after the twins when they were younger. But Minato refused, saying that it was better to put him away in a place that he could get help. However, he was adamant on not executing Naruto, and because of that, her baby girl was now dead. Kushina was angry and furious as she wanted someone to blame. She had to. It was just too much. So she blamed Minato, despite what he was going through at the moment. Mikato had tried to visit her, but she wasn't taking any visitors. Even Menma was left out. Menma himself was going through a lot. He prided himself on being the older brother, because the both of them always say that they had no older brother. So they only had each other to look out for. So, failing to protect Mito, it wounded him. It wounded him badly. His father had looked at his seal and strengthened the seal with others to make sure it would solidify over time and the chakra would not explode out of him. Menma was going through it. His friends has tried to be there for him, but he just wanted to be left alone. He was upset with himself because he failed. He will never see her again. He will never hear her again cheering him up, waking him up in the morning. Happy birthday, big brother. She knew that he prided himself on being the older one. So every time on his birthday, she greeted him with a happy birthday, big brother. And now she was gone. Menma didn't know what to do. He didn't feel like training. He didn't feel like going on. He felt so useless, so hopeless, so alone. And he was alone. Kushina, on the other hand, Naruto's words had gotten through. While she seemed to be out of her mind, his words had gotten through. She remembered, she heard what he said about his mother. She knew everything after all. What she and Minato covered up. She had thoughts that one day this would come back and bite her, but she always pushed it away. Her baby girl. She knew that Menma was still alive. However, the pain was so overwhelming. Knowing that she would never see Mito again, and there was nothing she could do about that. She had to focus this though. She could not keep on blaming Minato. That would just cause more problem than good. However, if she accepted this by herself, she was afraid that it might tear her apart, knowing that it was her fault. She was the one that had killed his mother. His aunt died, coming after her. She made sure his life was a living hell. She made sure that his time in prison was pure chaos. She paid for him to get beaten on a daily basis for his actions. She knew that if he died, Minato would know that she was behind it, so she didn't make them kill him, just to make him suffer for his actions against her kids, at trying to kill them in their sleep. And now, her girl was gone. As she was crying, holding on to a photo of Mito in her arms, tears pooling out of her eyes, her baby girl was gone. And there wasn't anything that she could do about it. Time skip. Word had spread about Konoha downfall once again. However, the name of Minato Namikaze was keeping all of their enemies at bay. Yes, they were backing off. As much as Konoha might be weakened, Minato was still a great force to be reckoned with. Couple of the Uchihas were killed by the unknown Uchiha. In fact, the Uchiha clan was having a meeting about that as we speak, trying to understand who was that girl. Itachi recalled everything that she had said. But not only did she possess several Mangekyo techniques, she also possessed the Susanoo. She was about to use it until the explosion that left a super chasm crater in the ground, as it could not be filled by any normal means. The place was a mess. Konoha was going to need a lot of money to get it back on its feet. Minato was pushing everything into his work, pushing his sadness and everything away into his work. The daimyo has already offered to accolade forces towards helping rebuilding Konoha, and Minato was focusing on his work. Kushina was grieving, so no one was really paying attention to Menma, as he was suffering as well. The whole family was suffering. It made them see that Mito was the glue that held them together. However, they were all certain on one thing. They all wanted to kill Naruto. They wanted to rip him apart. They wanted him to suffer for what? For who? He took away from them. Yes, they wanted his life to end. Time skip. Naruto did not want to be the leader. He believed that Kabuto was a better leader than him. He didn't have what it takes to be a leader. That was never his forte. While his mind was smart and calculating, he didn't want to be a leader. Kabuto now had the responsibilities on his shoulder. The Sound 4. They did not like the new leadership, but they feared Naruto more. So everyone was listening to what Kabuto had to say. Kabuto was drawing power from many of their other operations to accolade many of their forces back together. Kabuto, now knowing that Orochimaru was dead, he knew that if the Sannin was to return, he would try to kill Naruto, so Kabuto revealed something. He told Naruto that the curse marks contain a piece of Orochimaru's soul. So Naruto went to the Sound 4 and had all of them come to him one by one as he destroyed the Sannin soul. It wasn't hard. Naruto now had control over every access of chakra and beyond. He could feel Orochimaru's soul inside of the seal, and he could destroy it without destroying the seal because it was a big boost in their power. The Sound 4 had no choice but to listen, fearing the wrath of the man that had killed Orochimaru. They might be powerful even together, but they knew they stood no chance against him. Orochimaru had groomed them to follow the strong, and in this situation he was the strong, and they had to do what he said or else. So they did as they were told, knowing that the repercussion would be drastic on them. So they did as they were told, knowing that it wouldn't be good for them otherwise. At the moment, as Naruto didn't have much time to speak to her throughout all of this taking place, Hikari had a lot to go over herself. She wanted to destroy every last essence of the Uchiha clan until she was the final one left. Naruto knocked on the door. As she opened as he entered inside, He stood there looking at her. He hadn't been able to talk to her or apologize for what he almost did. She invited him inside as Naruto looked at her. He couldn't even face her. "I'm sorry," he said. "I lost control once again, and this time, it almost cost me. I almost killed you in the process," he said, "but I'm okay." "Stop that," said Naruto. "What?" she said, looking at him confused. Naruto looked at her. "Are you afraid of me?" he asked. "What?" "No," she said. "Why would I be afraid of you?" Your words. You never seem to be angry, despite what I do." "I almost killed you," said Naruto. "I knew that you were there, and yet I still went ahead and released that attack, which would have killed you. Why aren't you angry at me?" "Because I know. Unlike many, I know what and everything you've been through. I know the mere sight of those people get you so mad that you feel like you're gonna explode. So no, I don't blame you. The very sight of the other Uchihas, despite most of them having nothing to do with my problem, but just knowing that it was their ancestors, I felt like I was going to burst. I could not control my anger either. So no, I'm not angry at you. And I don't fear you either," she said. "In fact, Naruto looked at her. "You what?" She leaned forward as she kissed him, right on his lips, surprising Naruto. But guys, be and subscribe right here. If you want the next part to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification stay posted. Remember, share to all of your friends and your social media platform. But I'm out for now. See you guys soon. Peace.